Matibay ang walis, palibhasay magkabigkis. A broom is sturdy because its strands are tightly bound. And as of late, I've come to reflect on this Filipino proverb, which signifies the importance of community, especially in the face of adversity. And now, more than ever, we need to be fostering communities. However you want to do it, in whatever medium, be it in person, in online spaces, or in social media platforms like TikTok, we need to continue to build each other up. And as a mental health researcher, I have had the absolute privilege of speaking with people from very diverse backgrounds. And they all speak to one thing, the power of community and how healing it can be to have people help heal the way that you relate to yourself as well as the world around you. Now, you see, in my 26 years of being on this planet, I have always been in pursuit of community and finding a space that works for me. And I would like to share some of them with you now, right? So the first is through my hobbies, powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, Dungeons and Dragons, and other non-math things that require an annoying amount of math. Stay in math, kids, you'll need it in more ways than you think you would. Secondly, through my work, being surrounded by the most brilliant minds who share the same passion of reducing poor mental health outcomes in young people living in Western Australia. Now that one has an appropriate amount of math, see? Very mindful, very demure, very cutesy. And finally, through communing with other people who share the same level of adversity or experience with adversity that is directly related to their identity. Ever since I was younger, I knew that I was different from other kids. And this difference is what I've now come to understand as being queer. Woo, yeah, come on. But you see, growing up, I was never really in direct contact with other queer people. I was alone. And this was made worse through my religious schooling, which pretty much told me that being queer is sinful and it was bad and I didn't belong on this earth. And it wasn't until university and entering my young adulthood that I finally got in contact with other queer people and to live my queer life so unabashedly and without apology and without fear of how others would perceive me. Now that's quite a long period of time from my early adolescence through to my young adulthood that I did not have access to anyone offering any sort of support with regards to my identity. In fact, throughout my adolescence, I was always shouting into the ether, someone tell me who to be, how to be, or what to be. I was yearning to sit across from another queer person just to ask them, what makes you feel like you're not in this journey alone? Alone. Now, in my own personal experience in the research I've engaged with, I know how dangerous it can be to feel alone, to feel like you're the only person walking this journey that never seems to end. In fact, being alone is the silent contributor to very poor mental health outcomes like anxiety, depression, and even sometimes the worst of it, suicide. And for young queer people, social marginalization and rejection from what you thought was your community drives this feeling of being alone. I saw a report the other day that said 83.6% of young queer people in Western Australia has experienced some form of suicidal ideation in their lifetime. Now that's a very dark statistic, and that's not the kind of math that I want to be doing. But you see, I was a little bit privileged in the sense that there was one saving grace growing up that got me to my young adulthood, relatively unscathed. And it's this super scary, super spooky place called the internet. Oh, jump scare, oh, no. Social media, oh. Now, back in my childhood, there was YouTube, there was X, formerly known as Twitter, and there was also Tumblr. But these days, I think teenagers have something that is much more accessible, which is TikTok. Now, for anyone who has not used TikTok, TikTok is actually a fantastic place to build community because it feeds you the things that you engage with the most. It creates a positive sort of like feedback loop, right? Now, for queer people, this is a fantastic way that we can reach out to each other and experience queerness when we can't experience it in person. And in my research, in my very early research that I've done so far, I found that queer people actually use TikTok in a myriad of ways, and I'd like to explain some of that to you now. The first is what adolescent me needed the most, what I was yearning for the most, which is the act of validation and affirmation. Validating your identity, validating the way that you express your identity, acknowledging the social experiences that come with you expressing your identity, and acknowledging the mental health consequences that come with the social experiences that come with you expressing your identity. Quite the flowchart. For young queer people, the journey from self-realization to self-acceptance is quite long and sometimes quite perilous. The first is realizing that you are perhaps a little bit different to other kids around you. The second is realizing and coming to understand that difference is being queer. Third is trying to accept yourself in a world that might not necessarily accept you. And then comes navigating your social relationships. Are they going to accept you or reject you? Now, sadly, some queer people don't even make it past step 2 or 3, and they never really accept themselves for who they are. And a huge component to this is physical isolation, right? I mean, how is a young person who is trapped in a queerphobic household, queerphobic city, queerphobic state, country, even supposed to accept themselves when the message that they receive from the people around them is that you are not enough, you do not belong in this world? How hard must it be? They must be feeling so alone. But this is where TikTok can come in, right? You open up your phone, you download TikTok, you make an account, you look up hashtag LGBT, hashtag queer, whatever it may be. You scroll, you like, you scroll, you like, you chuck in a couple of comments, you engage in some of the trends, and all of a sudden you've got an entire For You page, an entire bit of content that's pretty much telling you that you belong somewhere, that the way that you identify and express your identity is completely valid. It sucks that you're going through this, but keep going, keep persisting. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. How powerful. How incredibly powerful to be told that you actually do belong here, right? So all of a sudden we've got access to culture, to identity, to language, and we also have hope. And hope is so powerful because it allows you to see a version of the world where you are in it and where you are happy living in it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some downsides to social media. Given the world events that have happened recently, the US election, the ban last week or the other week, whenever it was, general rise in queerphobia around the world, I realize that some of you might be concerned that we might actually be encountering this on TikTok, but what I found in my research is that's actually not the case. TikTok is so powerful in building these communities that it's actually very difficult to infiltrate in there and stay within there. Because not only is the algorithm powerful, so is community. Whenever someone tries to infiltrate Queer Talk, there's always someone at the ready to fight back, right? So there's this call to action that is happening on TikTok. Hey, you, that's not good. Stop doing that. Bad. Stop it. But what this also does, apart from rallying people, is that if I was a young queer person unsure of my identity and my place in the world, if I see someone online saying, Stop doing that. Queer people are valid and they're fighting for me. That also that validates my experience as well. It affirms that it is okay to be me because someone is fighting for me. Then I must be good. How powerful. There's also existing research that suggests the act of rallying people who are not already politically motivated can improve mental health outcomes as well. Again, I think it all goes back to community and the way that we fight for each other. Because remember, a broom is sturdy because its strands are tightly bound. Many hands make light work, and it makes it feel like we're not fighting this fight alone. Now, for you non-queer people out there in the audience and watching online, this also applies to you. You're not exempt from the community on TikTok. You're probably, if you're engaged in TikTok, you're already probably part of it, right? I'll name a few. I'm in Book Talk, and the current discussions are around whether books are political. They are. They're always touching on something political. But I'm also still on 2020 Talk. I'm still making sour bread over here. Do you know what I mean? But the point is, you're part of a community in social media already, and you may not even realize it. So I urge you to reflect upon that, because you're already probably exchanging information with other people and benefiting from it. And other people may be benefiting from the things that you are sharing. But I would also like to use this opportunity as a call to action and to rally all of you, right? Allyship is important when it comes to building community. If you understood what I meant when I said demure and mindful and cutesy, well, you've already probably accessed queer talk at some point. But I would just like to say that seeing people fight for you, especially those that are not in your community, is actually very, very healing. And whenever I see a non-queer person respond to a queerphobe online, I'm like, yeah, you go get him. Get him, get him, get him. Keep going, keep going. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't touch on the fact that there are discussions, especially in the political sphere, about what social media platforms should be available to young people and at what age. Now, from my opinion, the conversation needed to have been more nuanced than it was. But if I can speak to one thing, it is probably not the best thing for some people, considering that the power of community that we can form in social media platforms like TikTok is incredibly powerful. But that's just me. So now all you young people, I'm calling on you. I'm right there with you. Let's have a chat to parents and to teachers and to whomever it may be. And let's have an honest conversation about what social media means to you and what community means to you and how you can use social media to build your community. Let's use social media for good, right? Because social media is actually incredibly powerful, but so is the person using it. Thank you.